You think you know the story of Nikola Tesla? Think again. What I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you believed about one of history's greatest minds and the dark encounter that changed his life forever. Picture this. It's 1910, and America's most brilliant inventor is sitting across from Mark Twain, one of the country's most celebrated writers. Tesla leans forward, his eyes burning with an intensity that makes Twain's blood run cold. What Tesla whispers next is so extraordinary, so terrifying, that Twain will carry this secret to his deathbed, passing it only to his daughter as his final breath escapes his lips. Are you ready to hear what Tesla saw when he met the devil face to face? Because this isn't the horned monster you've been taught to fear. This is something far more dangerous, far more seductive, and infinitely more real. Hit that like button right now if you're brave enough to discover the truth that's been hidden for over a century. And make sure you're subscribed, because what you're about to learn will change how you see science, spirituality, and the thin line between genius and madness forever. Tesla wasn't just any inventor. While other men slept 8 hours, he survived on 2. While others forgot faces after meeting them once, he could recall every detail of a conversation from decades past. His mind operated on a frequency that seemed almost supernatural, and perhaps that's exactly what it was. But genius comes with a price. By 1907, Tesla found himself drowning in debt. The hotel bills were mounting, his experiments were bleeding money, and the world wasn't ready for his revolutionary ideas. Imagine having the blueprints to change humanity's future locked inside your head, but no one believes you're anything more than a mad scientist. This is where Tesla's story takes a turn that will make your skin crawl. You see, Tesla had been conducting experiments that pushed the boundaries of what the human body could endure. He would connect devices to his head that generated 150,000 volts of electricity. Let that sink in for a moment. That's enough power to kill a dozen men, yet Tesla used it like others might use a meditation technique. These sessions weren't just dangerous, they were borderline suicidal. Tesla would enter what he described as a state between life and clinical death. His metabolism would slow to almost nothing, his consciousness would drift to places that science couldn't explain, and his body would teeter on the edge of the void. Comment below if you think Tesla was insane, or if he was onto something that modern science still can't comprehend. It was during one of these sessions that everything changed. Tesla was alone in his laboratory, the familiar hum of electricity filling the air, when he felt something that made every instinct in his body scream in terror. There was a presence in the room with him, something that wasn't quite there, but wasn't quite gone either. You know that feeling when someone's watching you from behind, but when you turn around, no one's there. Multiply that by 1,000, and you might begin to understand what Tesla experienced. But this wasn't his imagination playing tricks on him. This was something real, something ancient, something that had been waiting for exactly the right moment to reveal itself. Tesla's scientific mind kicked into overdrive. He tried to rationalize what he was feeling, to find a logical explanation for this overwhelming sense of being observed. But as he focused his attention on this presence, something incredible happened. He could see it. Not with his eyes, mind you. This thing existed beyond the spectrum of visible light, beyond the reach of human senses. It appeared to Tesla as a luminous cloud, neither bright nor dim, but somehow alive with its own consciousness and will. And here's where the story gets really terrifying. This entity was studying Tesla just as intently as Tesla was studying it. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this truth, because what happened next will challenge everything you think you know about good and evil. Most people picture the devil as some red-skinned monster with horns and a pitchfork, don't they? Hollywood has done a fantastic job of turning the most dangerous entity in existence into a cartoon character. But Tesla's encounter revealed something far more sophisticated, far more terrifying. This being wasn't the stereotypical demon of Christian mythology. It was pure intelligence, ancient beyond human comprehension, and it had been watching our species since the beginning of time. The name Lucifer literally means light bearer in Latin. Think about that for a moment. We've been conditioned to fear darkness, but what if the real danger comes wrapped in illumination? What if the most seductive evil appears not as shadow, but as brilliant, undeniable light? Tesla's curiosity overcame his fear. This was a man who had dedicated his life to understanding the unknown, and here was the ultimate mystery standing right in front of him. So he did what any true scientist would do. He made contact, but this wasn't communication as you and I understand it. There were no words, no gestures, no sounds. Instead, Tesla felt his consciousness expand in ways that should have been impossible. Information flooded his mind so rapidly that his brain felt like it was being rewired in real time. New neural pathways were forming, new connections were sparking to life, and suddenly Tesla could see not just the present, but fragments of the future itself. And that's when the entity revealed its true identity and purpose. This being wasn't evil in the way humans understand evil. It wasn't trying to destroy God's creation or drag souls to hell. It was an angel, assigned by the Creator himself to observe and test humanity. Its job was to offer temptation to present choices, to reveal what people were truly capable of when given the opportunity to choose between light and darkness. Think about it. How can you measure someone's character without testing it? How can you know if someone is truly good unless they have the option to be evil? This entity was the ultimate quality control inspector for human souls. Tag someone in the comments who needs to understand this perspective on temptation and free will. But here's where Tesla's encounter becomes truly terrifying. Through this connection, he began to see his own inventions in a completely different light. Every breakthrough he had achieved, every patent he had filed, every innovation that he thought would benefit humanity, he now saw with perfect clarity how these same technologies could be weaponized, corrupted, turned into instruments of unimaginable destruction. Tesla watched in horror as visions unfolded before him. He saw his wireless energy transmission technology being used to deliver death from the sky. He witnessed his electrical innovations powering machines of war that could eliminate entire cities in seconds. He observed his alternating current system enabling weapons that could make previous conflicts look like children's games. The entity didn't tell Tesla what to do with this knowledge. It didn't command him to stop his work or demand that he use his gifts for evil purposes. It simply showed him the truth, that every tool can become a weapon, every innovation can be corrupted, and every gift comes with the responsibility to choose wisely. This is why Tesla destroyed many of his most promising projects. This is why his death ray never saw the light of day. This is why his wireless energy transmission remained theoretical. He had seen what humanity was capable of, and he made the conscious choice to protect us from ourselves. The connection ended as abruptly as it began. Tesla found himself collapsed on the floor of his laboratory, his body convulsing, his clothes soaked in sweat, his heart pounding like a war drum. But his photographic memory had captured every second of the encounter, every detail of the visions, every moment of that impossible conversation. Like this video, if you're starting to understand why some knowledge might be too dangerous for humanity to possess. For the rest of his life, Tesla carried this burden. He knew secrets that could advance civilization by centuries, but he also knew that sharing them could lead to humanity's extinction. Imagine living with that weight on your shoulders, knowing that you possess the keys to paradise and the blueprints for apocalypse in equal measure. This encounter fundamentally changed Tesla's worldview. The man who had once described himself as an atheist began speaking about God with the conviction of a prophet. He became convinced that consciousness survives death, that the souls of the departed remain with us in ways we can't perceive, and that there are forces operating in our universe that transcend material understanding. Tesla started receiving what he called inspirations more frequently after this encounter. He would wake up with complete knowledge of complex inventions, as if the blueprints had been downloaded directly into his brain overnight. He described these moments as glimpses into the future, windows into possibilities that hadn't yet manifested in our reality. The invention of the alternating current motor came to him this way. Tesla was walking through a park in 1882 when the entire design suddenly appeared in his mind with perfect clarity. Without paper or pencil, he drew the diagrams in the sand, knowing instinctively that he had been given something revolutionary. But here's what will really blow your mind. Tesla became convinced that these inspirations weren't coming from his own genius. He believed they were gifts, carefully selected pieces of knowledge being shared by a higher intelligence that understood exactly how much humanity could handle at any given moment. Comment below with your thoughts. Do you think some of our greatest innovations come from divine inspiration, or are we just really good at recognizing patterns in nature? Tesla tried to understand the source of these inspirations through conventional means. He consulted with psychologists, studied with scientists, even considered the possibility that he was receiving communications from an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. But none of these explanations felt complete. None of them addressed the profound spiritual component of his experiences. Years later, while living in America and reflecting on his life's work, Tesla finally arrived at the answer that would define his later years. He realized that all of his discoveries, all of his innovations, all of his contributions to human progress had been gifts from God, delivered through a process that transcended ordinary understanding. Finally, the day has come when I have realized that God exists, Tesla wrote in his diary, his handwriting trembling with emotion. In that moment, he understood that his entire career had been a collaboration between human curiosity and divine guidance, a partnership between earthly science and heavenly wisdom. Driven by overwhelming gratitude and a need to express his newfound faith, Tesla immediately decided to visit an Orthodox church. But here's where life threw him one final curveball that would become a parable about the nature of spiritual seeking. Tesla hailed a taxi and asked to be taken to the nearest Orthodox church. Simple request, right, wrong. The driver had no idea where to find such a place. They drove through the maze of New York City streets, stopping to ask police officers for directions, but nobody seemed to know where Tesla could find the worship space he was seeking. For over an hour, they searched. Tesla was growing increasingly agitated, feeling as if God was testing his sincerity one final time. Just when all hope seemed lost, they encountered a police officer who remembered seeing a church with distinctive onion-shaped domes topped with crosses. Yes, Tesla shouted so loudly that both the officer and the driver jumped. Finally, they arrived at St. Nicholas Orthodox Church on 97th Street, and Tesla felt that this frustrating journey had been one final sign, one last confirmation that his path to faith had been guided from above. Share this story with someone who's been searching for their own spiritual awakening, because Tesla's journey proves that the path to understanding isn't always straight or simple. But let's step back and examine the larger implications of Tesla's encounter with the entity that called itself the devil. If we accept Tesla's account as truth, then we have to completely reconsider our understanding of good and evil, of temptation and free will, of the very nature of spiritual reality. This entity wasn't humanity's enemy. It was humanity's examiner, tasked with presenting us with choices that reveal our true character. Every time you have the opportunity to do something selfish versus something selfless, every moment when you can choose between honesty and deception, every instant when you can pick kindness over cruelty, you're participating in a cosmic evaluation that's been ongoing since the dawn of consciousness. Think about the implications of that. We're not victims of random chance or meaningless suffering. We are active participants in a grand experiment designed to determine what we are truly made of. Every choice matters because every choice is being observed, recorded, and analyzed by intelligences that understand the ultimate consequences of our decisions. Tesla's story suggests that the greatest minds among us receive additional responsibilities and additional temptations. The more power you have to change the world, the more important it becomes to ensure that you'll use that power wisely. The entity didn't tempt Tesla with money or fame or personal pleasure. It tempted him with the ultimate seduction: unlimited knowledge and the power to reshape reality itself. And Tesla passed the test. When shown the destructive potential of his inventions, he chose to protect humanity rather than profit from our weaknesses. When offered the chance to become the most powerful man in history, he chose humility and service instead. Hit the subscribe button if you're inspired by Tesla's choice to use his gifts for humanity's benefit rather than his own gain. This brings us to a crucial question about the nature of genius itself. Are the greatest minds in human history simply products of superior genetics and favorable circumstances, or are they chosen vessels for divine inspiration? Tesla's experience suggests that breakthrough innovations don't emerge from pure intellect alone, but from a partnership between human curiosity and cosmic guidance. Consider how many of our most important discoveries have come through sudden flashes of insight rather than gradual logical deduction. The periodic table came to Mendeleev in a dream. The structure of benzene was revealed to Kekulé through a vision of a snake eating its own tail. Einstein's theory of relativity emerged from thought experiments that seemed to bypass conventional reasoning entirely. What if these weren't random moments of inspiration, but carefully orchestrated downloads of information from a higher intelligence that understood exactly when humanity was ready for each new piece of the puzzle? What if our entire technological and scientific progress has been guided by the same force that Tesla encountered in his laboratory? This would mean that we are not alone in our quest for knowledge and understanding. We are junior partners in a cosmic collaboration, receiving guidance and support from intelligences that want to see us succeed, but only if we demonstrate the wisdom to handle increasingly powerful tools responsibly. Tesla's later writings are filled with references to this partnership. He spoke about receiving guidance not just for his inventions, but for understanding life itself. He became convinced that consciousness is eternal, that death is merely a transition rather than an ending, and that the souls of the departed continue to influence and inspire the living. "I look into the future and see what is not yet," Tesla wrote in his diary. This wasn't poetic metaphor, it was literal description of his ongoing experiences with prophetic vision. Through his connection with the divine, Tesla could perceive possibilities that hadn't yet manifested in physical reality. Comment below if you've ever had moments of inspiration that felt like they came from somewhere beyond your own mind. But perhaps the most important lesson from Tesla's encounter is about the nature of moral responsibility in an age of rapidly advancing technology. Every innovation we create, every discovery we make, every tool we invent can be used for construction or destruction, for healing or harm, for liberation or oppression. Tesla understood that the more powerful our technologies become, the more crucial it becomes to ensure that they're guided by wisdom rather than pure ambition. He saw that knowledge without conscience is the most dangerous force in the universe, capable of destroying not just individual lives, but entire civilizations. This is why Tesla chose to suppress some of his most revolutionary discoveries. He had seen the future that would unfold if certain technologies were released before humanity developed the spiritual maturity to use them responsibly. His restraint wasn't cowardice, it was profound wisdom born from direct knowledge of our species' capacity for both transcendence and self-destruction. Today, as we stand on the brink of artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and quantum computing, Tesla's example becomes more relevant than ever. We're developing godlike powers at an unprecedented pace, but are we developing the wisdom necessary to wield them responsibly? Tesla's encounter with the light-bearing entity reminds us that every choice we make is being observed and evaluated by forces that understand the ultimate consequences of our decisions better than we do. The question isn't whether we have the intelligence to create powerful technologies, but whether we have the character to use them for the benefit of all life rather than the advantage of a few. Tesla spent his final years trying to bridge the gap between science and spirituality, between rational investigation and mystical experience, between human ambition and divine purpose. He understood that true progress requires both intellectual advancement and moral evolution, both technological innovation and spiritual wisdom. Share this video with someone who needs to understand that our greatest responsibility isn't to create more powerful tools, but to become worthy of the ones we already possess. The entity that Tesla encountered wasn't trying to corrupt him or lead him astray. It was offering him the ultimate test. Would he use unlimited knowledge for personal gain, or would he accept the responsibility that comes with cosmic partnership? Would he choose to be humanity's exploiter or humanity's protector? Tesla's choice to protect us from our own destructive impulses demonstrates the kind of character that earns divine collaboration. He could have become the wealthiest, most powerful man in history by releasing technologies that would have revolutionized warfare and industry. Instead, he chose to remain relatively poor and unknown, working behind the scenes to ensure that his gifts were used for healing rather than harm. This is the model that Tesla offers for anyone who finds themselves in possession of knowledge, skills, or resources that could significantly impact others. The question isn't how much benefit you can extract for yourself, but how much good you can create for the world, while ensuring that your contributions don't enable more harm than help. Tesla's life proves that genuine greatness isn't measured by wealth, fame, or power, but by the wisdom to use your gifts in service of something greater than yourself. He became one of history's most important figures, not because he accumulated the most resources, but because he demonstrated the character worthy of cosmic trust. Like this video, if you're committed to using your own talents and opportunities to benefit others rather than just advancing your personal interests. The story of Tesla's encounter with the devil challenges us to reconsider everything we think we know about the nature of reality, the source of inspiration, and the purpose of human existence. If Tesla's account is accurate, then we're living in a universe where consciousness is fundamental, where spiritual forces actively guide material development, and where our choices carry consequences that extend far beyond our physical lives. This isn't a comfortable worldview for those who prefer to see existence as random and meaningless. It's much easier to believe that we are cosmic accidents with no purpose beyond biological survival than to accept that we are spiritual beings undergoing evaluation by intelligences that understand our true potential better than we do. But Tesla's life demonstrates that embracing this larger perspective doesn't diminish human agency or scientific investigation. Instead, it enhances both by providing a framework that gives meaning to our curiosity and purpose to our discoveries. When you understand that your work is part of a cosmic collaboration, every project becomes a sacred responsibility. Tesla's partnership with divine intelligence didn't make him passive or dependent. It made him more creative, more innovative, and more responsible. He understood that he was a co-creator in an ongoing experiment designed to determine whether conscious beings could develop the wisdom necessary to handle unlimited power without destroying themselves or others. This is the test that every generation faces as technology advances. Will we use our growing capabilities to transcend our limitations and serve something greater than ourselves? Or will we turn our tools into weapons that accelerate our own destruction? Tesla's example shows us that the choice is always ours, but the consequences extend far beyond our individual lives. Comment below with your thoughts on whether humanity is passing or failing this cosmic examination in our current era. Tesla's final years were marked by increasing isolation as he watched the world move toward the global conflicts that he had seen in his visions. World War I validated his fears about how quickly human innovation could be turned toward destruction. He had seen glimpses of World War II decades before it began, and he spent his remaining years trying to develop technologies that could defend against the weapons he knew were coming. But even in his isolation, Tesla never lost faith in humanity's potential for transcendence. He continued to believe that our species could evolve beyond its destructive impulses if enough individuals chose wisdom over ambition, service over selfishness, and love over fear. His life became a demonstration of what's possible when someone aligns their personal will with cosmic purpose. Tesla died in 1943, alone in a New York hotel room, most of his revolutionary discoveries still locked away in patents that wouldn't be understood for decades. He took many secrets with him to the grave, trusting that future generations would rediscover them when they had developed sufficient wisdom to use them responsibly. But he left behind something more valuable than any individual invention, an example of how to live when you understand that you're part of something infinitely larger than your personal desires and ambitions. Tesla showed us that the highest honor isn't to be the most successful person in human terms, but to be worthy of divine partnership in the ongoing creation of reality. Today, as we face challenges that would have been incomprehensible to previous generations, Tesla's example becomes our guide for navigating the intersection of technological power and spiritual responsibility. We are developing capabilities that could solve every material problem humanity faces, but only if we can develop the character necessary to use them wisely. Tesla's encounter with the light-bearing entity reminds us that we are not alone in this challenge. There are forces actively working to guide and support us, but they can only help those who demonstrate the humility to accept guidance and the integrity to use their gifts for the benefit of all life. The choice that Tesla faced is the same choice that confronts every person who finds themselves in possession of knowledge, skills, or resources that could significantly impact others. Will you use your capabilities to serve your own interests, or will you accept the responsibility that comes with being a co-creator in the cosmic experiment of consciousness? Tesla chose service over selfishness, wisdom over ambition, and love over fear. His life proves that this choice doesn't lead to poverty or obscurity, but to a kind of richness that transcends material measure. He became immortal not because he accumulated wealth or power, but because he demonstrated the character worthy of eternal partnership with the forces that guide the universe toward ever greater expressions of consciousness, creativity, and love. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're ready to follow Tesla's example and use your own gifts in service of humanity's highest potential, because the world needs more people who understand that true success isn't measured by what you can take, but by what you're willing to give in service of something infinitely greater than yourself.